Okay, today we will be discussing some techniques and technologies to minimize or control air pollution. As we cannot completely eliminate air pollution, we can use certain techniques or approaches which can help us minimize the damaging effect or the quantity of air pollution. So, we will discuss this. After that, we will also discuss how we can identify or analyze the impact of these kind of pollutions and why, when we have these techniques and technologies, are we not using them, or why aren't we using them on a larger scale? One simple technique here is, जी आप just maintain. One such technique is gravitational setting chamber. It is a setup which is normally used to remove particles, yes, solid particles from the air, which have a size which is greater than 50 microns. Micron is a size which is helpful in identifying the size of particles. 1 micron is the size of human hair. It is useful in reducing the velocity of flue gases in big chambers. It uses gravity to compress or shrink or basically shrink and smallify the velocity of larger gases. The advantage here is कि if we have to basically let go certain gases, if we have a manufacturing process and the output is some pollutant or toxic gases, we can use this technique to basically remove a number of particles from that pollutant. So the gases which will be left will have a much lesser quantity of those pollutant or toxins. Using this chamber, particles settle under gravitational forces. Because of gravitation force, good number of particles basically settle down, and the remaining gases have a much lesser tendency or ratio of toxic elements. The advantage of this approach is that it is having low initial cost. It's not very technical, so its initial cost is very low. It is easy to design. There is low pressure drop in the technical approach. There is low maintenance because the entire process is relatively simple. Dry and continuously disposal of solid particles. It's easier to dispose solid waste rather than liquid waste. So the entire process is dry and you can continuously dispose of solid particles. The disadvantage of this, Acha, I will be sharing some videos of these techniques also, so hopefully you will get a better picture there. The disadvantage of this is it requires large space. Secondly, less collection efficiency. Thirdly, only larger particles can be collected because 50 micron is a very big particle. It's not as small as we would want it to be. Most gases or toxic elements are very small, they're smaller than 1 micron. Another technique is the cyclone separator. It uses centrifugal force. By centrifugal force, we mean the rotating mechanism which generates centrifugal force. So, centrifugal force is which pulls or pushes elements from due to movement. It is used to separate the particle matters. The good thing here is that it can remove up to 10 to 50 micron particle size. Unlike the previous method, which only focuses on 50 microns, this is able to remove up to 10 micron, which is a big achievement here, using simple mechanical processes. It is mostly used in industries. One of the advantage here is low initial cost, require less floor area, relatively simple construction and maintenance, can handle relatively large volume of gas at high temperature. Now, this high temperature element is relatively important here because a lot of industrial processes result in the expulsion of high temperature gases. Having gases in normal room temperature is different from having gases in high temperature environments, because these gases are more volatile, they are more reactive, they are more corrosive. So not every equipment can manage or handle them, because these high temperature gases can start corroding them. By corrosion, I mean damage them. Zung lagna ya rusting is a corrosion process. It starts damaging the metal. Similarly, high temperature gases can also cause erosion to equipment. So cyclone separator is one of those systems which can actually handle this high temperature gas. Disadvantage here is requires large headrooms. We need larger headrooms. We cannot do that in a smaller area, at least in terms of headroom. It is less efficiency for small particles. Again, it's focusing on 10 to 50 microns. Sensitivity to variable dust load and flow rate. If there is a different flow rate, there is a different dust load, it might not be able to handle that. Electrostatic precipitators. Electrostatic basically means the static electricity which is generated through physical movement. You do experience this when you're wearing a sweater or a blanket in winter. You feel or experience or hear some small shocking noises, or you see some sparks. That is called an electrostat, which is generated from biomechanical energy and biomechanical movement. So this is another technique which is used to remove very fine solid particles from air. So this is another technique which is used to de uh, clean the air in that way. It works on the principle of electrical charge of particles, matter positive, and collecting it in a negative charged surface. Obviously, when we talk about electrical charges, it's always in positive and negative. So we try to get the negative in a positive area. The best thing here is that it has a 99% efficiency ratio, which is extreme. It can remove particle size ranging from zero point 0.1 micron to 1 micron. This is extremely amazing. Water filters which we use to clean drinking water, normally have a size of 1 micron. 1 micron is the size of a hair, human hair. Point 0.1 is so small that it can actually capture bacteria and viruses. So this is an extreme size, which is amazing. It's extremely effective here. The advantage here is it has a very high collection efficiency. Obviously, when it can target up to zero point 0.1 micron, it is highly effective in collecting particles. Particles may be collected wet or dry. This is an extreme, I would say, point under its belt. Can be operated at high temperatures, 300 to 45, 450 Celsius. That is also amazing because this is the temperature in which our oven works. Maintenance is relatively normal. The process has few moving parts. By having few moving parts, we have less breakdown and less need for maintenance. We have disadvantages here because this is a technical system. It has a high initial cost. In addition to that, it requires high voltage. It The collection efficiency reduces with time, as with most electrical processes. Space requirement is more, and possible of explosion during collection of combustible gases or particles. Because gases can be combustible, so there is a chance or risk of combustion or explosion, which is, I think, the major disadvantage here. Because it is an electrical process, there can be sparks or there can be some issues there, so combustible gases can be dangerous here. Fabric filters. One of the fabric, these are usually relatively simple. Flue gas is allowed to pass through a woven fabric which filters out particle matters. Small particles are retained on the fabric, remove particles up to 1 micron. Its efficiency is up to 99%. In the simplest sense, this is what our vacuum cleaners do. It has a woven fabric, it uses special fabrics through which gas or air is passed, and all solid particles are basically stuck on the fabric. The advantage is it has a higher collection efficiency for smaller than 10 micron particles. Performance decreases becomes visible, giving pre-warning. Normal power consumption. As is the case with most vacuum cleaners, when we are using it, everything becomes very obvious. You know, the sucking power reduces, so we know, okay, the fabric is filled, the filter is filled, or it gives us physical warning. So the system is very good here because it gives us indications that some things are working, something is not working, as is not the case with every other technique before here. Disadvantage is that high temperature gases need to be cooled. We cannot work with high temperature gases. The reason here is that the fabric itself might be damaged. Not every fabric or thinly woven fiber can handle higher temperatures. At 450 Celsius, we can basically burn meat, we can burn plastic, we can burn a lot of metal and mineral, sorry, a lot of material. So it's very difficult for fabric to have the right fabric at the right consistency to be able to handle that temperatures. High maintenance and fabric replacement cost, because there is a time and there is a limit and there is a life for the fabric's potential to basically clean things. So it has to be replaced periodically. The equipment has a large size, and the fabric is liable to chemical attack. It can react to certain chemicals. It can damage. It can be damaged. It can even catch fire. So the problem here is again, okay, there are so many methods, so many techniques, and so many technologies. Depending on what requirements we have options to select from. Now we have to select which is the right technology in the system for us, what kind of pollutants we have, what are the temperatures, and what are the cost, and what environment we have, what spaces we have, and based on all of those factors, we can decide which technique or technology we have to follow. So we have systems, they have their advantages, they have their disadvantages. It is up to us, okay, which things can better fit our requirements. And one of the last system here is the scrubber. So please note that right now we are talking about some basic systems. We are not talking about some specific machine or some specific technology. Because if we are talking about the fabric filter, it is not one system, it is one kind of technology which a number of companies may be using. They might have a number of filters available, they might have a number of machines available which might be using this technology. So fabric filters is a technology, it is not a machine. Similarly, electrostatic perspirators are a technology. They can be used in different machines, different systems, different setups. So we are not talking about five machines here, we're talking about five systems or five technologies which can be used in many different kind of setups or different kind of machines. The last technology which we are discussing right now are scrubbers. Scrubbers are basically particulate matters are incorporated into liquid droplets and removed from the gas stream. Different types of scrubbers are spray towers, Venturi scrubbers, and cyclone scrubbers. Flue gas made to push up against a downfalling water current. Particulate matter mix up with water, thus falls down and get removed. It is a relatively simple system in which we have water vapors or liquid vapors, depending on the type of gases we have. They are thrown into a stream, and then the gases have to pass through them. So there are some gases which may react, which may have chemicals which may react to water, and then they might be absorbed into the water and just go down and be collected. And the relatively cleaner gases might be let go into the atmosphere. We might need to have some other liquid or some other chemical depending on the type of the chemical composition of the gases. So that is the reason we have mentioned here ke are incorporated into liquid droplets. They're not saying we are incorporating this into water. One example is that we might be using water or we might be using some other liquid through which the gas is passed. So the dirt particles or the pollutant particles are absorbed by the liquid and they basically settle down, while the other cleaner particles are let gone. The advantages here are that it simultaneously removes particles and gaseous pollution. All these issues are basically stuck in the water or the liquid and basically settle down while the cleaner gas is released. Hot gases can be cooled down because if a hotter gas is released through water, it will automatically cool because of the water. It's a natural process of cooling. Corrosive gases can be recovered and neutralized. As I recently mentioned, corrosive gases are highly volatile and they react with metal or containers to damage them. So using some kinds of liquids or water can help you remove this corrosive negative property of that gas, and those chemicals can be removed from the gas. So those corrosiveness can be neutralized and the proper element of the proper gas can be recovered. One major disadvantage here is that a lot of water is wasted and a lot of waste water is produced. Yes, we can clean that water, we can recycle that process, but then itself can be a longer process. It can be a longer, more costlier process. It possesses freezing problems in cold countries because if we are in a country like Russia and the temperature is 30 Celsius or sorry, minus 30 and minus 40, the liquid droplets or the water stream can freeze. Water freezes at minus zero, at zero. So minus 30 and minus 40 are extreme temperatures. And trying to regulate the internal environment of a big factory or a big setup, it can be costly on its own. The maintenance cost is high when corrosive materials are collected because corrosive materials damage containers, they damage metal, they damage a number of type of uh, materials. It is expensive and it is technically uh, difficult to have the containers or the type of material which can handle corrosive material. We will go into detail on corrosive material in some other lecture also. So I have discussed as requested because the cyclone separator is a process in which there is a whirlwind process. The gases are spinned at high speed. This process uses centrifugal forces to remove the solid particles from that. When something is spinned in fast speed, automatically the power of the spinning motion pushes particles outside. This is called centrifugal force. So the solid particles or the pollutants are pushed out from the basic gas. So those particles can be collected that way. So we use a whirlwind or cyclone movement in which particles are separated from the gases. That's it. It's that simple. जब आंधी चलती है बेसिकली तेज वो वर्ल्डविंड आता है तो सब चीजें आप देखते हो उड़ जाती है साइडों पे. तो इट यूजेस दैट मैकेनिज्म कि गैसेस को सर्कुलेट करते हैं और साइडों पर उनके पार्टिकल्स कलेक्ट कर लेते हैं. तो जो बीच में गैस रहती है इट इज रिलेटिवली क्लीनर. इफ यू स्टिल हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम प्लीज लेट मी नो. So now one of the most important factor for business student is the EIA. Everything which we have discussed till now was the basic introduction and basic information which would have given you some basic idea of what pollutants are, what are the basic techniques to minimize pollutants and so on. That was just a fresher for you to be mentally prepared for what kind of things we will be discussing in this class. Now, the first element of the practical implications of environmental factors on businesses and business students has started. So, now we are going to study environmental impact assessment. This is extremely important for project managers, even marketers, and businesses and strategic planners because everything that has to be done or can be done has to be assessed using the environmental impact assessment. The problem is that in Pakistan we have relatively limited rules and regulations which may require an EIA probing. But in developed countries, or even in a lot of developing countries like China and India, there are strict rules and regulations which require extensive environmental impact assessment. Now, what EIA basically is, we will review these points and then discuss in detail. Environmental impact assessment, or EIA, can be defined as the study to predict the effect of a proposed activity project on the environment. It is simply a study to see, okay, whatever we are trying to do, whatever project which we have, how will it affect the environment? That is it. In simpler terms, if we want to build a mall, a road, or a structure or a factory, how will that affect the environment? A decision making tool, EIA compares various alternatives for a project and seeks to identify the one which represents the best combination of economic and environmental costs and benefits. Now, one element here is okay, when we talk about projects in business, there are two factors to be considered. Number one, the cost of the project, and number two, the environmental impact of the project. Now, it is a very thin line here because we might be saving a lot of money, but we might be affecting the environment in a very bad way. If I want to build a road and the material that I'm using is highly toxic, but it is very cheap, so it will be affecting the environment in a bad way. But then if I start to build the road with a material which is highly environmental friendly, but it is very expensive, so it has no business benefit or implications for me because I will be wasting or losing a lot of money, so I will not be able to recover the money. So basically, the environmental impact assessment helps us understand that we should have a right balance. The project which we want to do should not be very expensive and it should not be highly damaging the environment. So we have to look for a perfect fit. The material which we use should be environmentally clean but should be cheap and economical enough to be feasible and profitable to business. For example, instead of importing a lot of repurposed rubber tiles from Europe, we might use shredded tires in Pakistan. So those imported rubber tiles from Germany might be very environmental friendly, but they might be very expensive. In Pakistan, the shredded rubber tires might be less environmental friendly, but they would be environmental friendly, but there would be the cost would be much cheaper. So here we have to see the cost and benefit. So environmental impact assessment is not only about the environment, but it helps us identify the best combination which is environmentally friendly and has a decent or manageable cost. Environmental impact assessment is intended as an instrument of preventive environmental management. It provides a framework and an information basis for decision making on activities affecting the environment. So, environmental impact assessment is something which is done before a project is accepted. If I want to build a factory, if Tuba wants to build a building, or if Aruj wants to build a road, we will submit a proposal to the regulatory authority and they will conduct an extensive environmental impact assessment and then let us know okay, what possible environmental effects our projects can have. So by doing this, this EIA is basically trying to prevent activities which might affect the environment in a bad way. क्रॉपर क्रॉनिकस का नाम सुना है किसी ने? क्रॉपर क्रॉनिकस, किसी बच्चे ने क्रॉपर क्रॉनिकस का नाम सुना है? Cropper Chronicus is a type of tree which we might have seen very commonly in Karachi. It's a thin, long tree which requires very little water. And there was a debate recently that this was the tree because of which we do not have any rain in Karachi. If I am not wrong, आप लोगों ने सुना होगा इसके बारे में. But Cropper Chronicus का term नहीं सुना होगा because it is its scientific name. The problem here is कि ये दरख्त पाकिस्तानी गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत बड़ी क्वांटिटी में कराची में लगाए थे. They were gifted to us by Australia. We were given a lot of seeds from them, and the good thing about them was they do not require water. We do not need to give them water. And they were planted in extensive quantities in Karachi, and the good thing was that it grows very fast. So what we saw here was that we had lush green trees all over Karachi. You simply plant them, and in 2-3 months they are big large trees. Then we found out that they were a type of tree which automatically develops a lot of large roots and sucks a lot of water from the ground naturally. That is the reason it does not require us to give water. It was a tree which is normally planted in marsh areas जहाँ पानी बहुत होता है मिट्टी में कीचड़ बड़ा होता है तो ये उन जगहों पे लगाते हैं उस पानी को ख़त्म करने के लिए. ऑस्ट्रेलिया में कुछ मार्श एरियाज होते हैं जहाँ ये ट्रीज लगाए जाते थे ताकि एक्सेस वाटर कैन बी रिमूव्ड. Because we in Karachi did not have an EIA, we did not access or assess the implications of this project. As a result, क्या मसला हुआ? We ended up in having a project approved which seriously affected the water quality and water availability in Karachi. कराची में एक तो वैसे ही पानी नहीं होता. Because of accepting this tree, we resulted in extensive drainage of the underground water resource. तो EIA helps us minimize these kind of activities or decisions जिससे आगे आके environment को असर होता है. So this helps us prevent these things. I think हमारा टाइम भी खत्म होने वाला है, so let's chill. किसी को प्रॉब्लम है तो प्लीज़ ये लेक्चर दोबारा रिव्यू कर सकते हैं, मैं भी शेयर कर दूंगा. And feel free to ask me any question, we will try to answer them. Okay.